Hello and welcome to Cloudforest Vibes. My name's Bobby, and this is how I grow orchids and carnivorous plants. Hello and welcome to Cloudforest Vibes. We are just going to have another quick look around today. There is so much to look at, so much progress and things going on, and I just want to share it with you guys. We're going to start out looking at a couple Bulbophyllums and go from there, but there's definitely lots of stuff going on here and in the tank, so we're going to get right to it. I hope you enjoy, guys. Here we go. So down here we have one of my favorite Bulbophyllums, but it's still unbloomed. This is Bulbophyllum mcrantham. It is a very large Bulbophyllum, and when I got it, it only had these two growths on it and another one down here which rotted off, and it was producing this growth. This growth has tried to produce two growths that have rotted because I did keep this orchid way too moist for way too long, and I did get a really nice new growth last year, and I have a really strong new growth pushing on this year. I love when a Bulbophyllum does what it's supposed to do. This rhizome is actually compressing itself to the mount for a change. I don't have to use line or anything, and the older portion of it and the older bulbs are producing some new roots right now. It's something that this orchid does in the springtime. As you see, I have a little hitchhiker here. This fern popped up on this mount last year, and I've just let it go. I think it kind of looks nice. So definitely have a little mixed epiphytic bag here, but the mcrantham is doing well. I'm really hoping to see this thing bloom this year. I had one bud start to push last year, and it as well rotted off. I think this moss was just too moist last year. I've been growing it significantly drier. I do water it profusely when I do water it, but I do also let it dry out, and I'm very careful not to get any of the new growths or anything wet for too long. The next Bulbophyllum we'll take a look at is this big beast over here. This is my Bulbophyllum maximum, and as you see, we are starting to grow as well. So big news, I've got new growths popping out everywhere on this plant. If you look at it, another one there, I've got more up there, two more there. This thing is just growing. Still no signs of any blooms. It's on one of my top shelves up here. It gets pretty bright light. It's getting to be a pretty big plant, and I really don't know what else I can do. I'm gonna freshen up the moss on this thing this year. I think it definitely could use a little bit of help with that. The moss has been on there for almost 2 years now, so what I'm gonna do at some point is get rid of a few plants here pretty soon, and this is going to earn itself a brighter spot. It's going to get moved over, it's going to get some actual partial sun in the morning time, and see if that doesn't trigger it to grow even stronger and hopefully put out some blooms this year. Over here next to it, we have a very special Bulbophyllum, because this Bulbophyllum is going to be in bloom very soon. This is our Bulbophyllum barbagirum. Awesome little Bulbophyllum from Africa. And this flower spike is progressing quite nicely. Let me get in closer for you guys. So as you see, this here is our flower spike, and we have buds starting to drop and starting to form, and lots of buds still to come. Going to be a pretty good blooming. I'm really looking forward to seeing this plant bloom. I really want to see these flowers, but I'm not looking forward to smelling them. These are one of the smellier Bulbophyllums, supposedly. At least that's what I've read. So don't see these a whole lot in bloom, at least not on YouTube. So I'm excited to be able to share this with you guys. And this Bulbophyllum here are my two Bulbophyllum Lassio Columns. This is the regular version, and this is Vardark. I have moved them from back on a lower shelf. I've put them over here much closer to the window. They get some pretty bright light now, and it seems to me that they're growing really happily. The new growths that we've had pushing on, they're growing really nice, new, big, happy leaves, and they are even starting to push out more new growth. Got new growths coming up on the regular Lassio Column from older bulbs, and I did see one here too somewhere. Oh, can't find it, but you're just gonna have to trust me. Anyhow, these two like a little bit brighter light. Not any kind of real direct sun. They are shaded by lots of other plants, but they are much closer to the window now, and they get really bright indirect light as well from the LEDs overhead, also filtered through some of these plants. So lots and lots of progress, and I have one more Bulbophyllum to look at before we look around at some other plants. This is our Bulbophyllum miniatum varmark, and this is one of the plants that we did in our upkeep video for Bulbophyllums not too long ago. I'm pleased to say that our newest growths are getting really, really big. These are just as big, if not bigger, than anything else on this plant. The roots, I'm not sure if you can see that, I'll have to get over here a bit, are really, really bouncing back quite nicely since we took all the moss off this mount, and we're letting them grow directly on the bare bark. All these growths are producing new roots, and we're even getting more new growths popping up from older portions of this plant. So I'd say we have definitely made this plant a much happier orchid, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to see this thing bloom again this year, especially if the growths keep coming out this size. That is just awesome. Alrighty, on to some blooms. I'm sure you saw it while I was talking about the Bulbophyllum barbagirum, but my Dendrobium unicom is officially in full bloom. Absolutely beautiful. This plant is so stunning. The fragrance is really nice. It is very citrusy, but I only get a hint of the fragrance for me in the morning once the sun's on it. Once the sun goes away, I don't tend to notice it anymore, but it is a really, really nice, almost tangerine-like, citrusy kind of fragrance. Beautiful, beautiful plant. Absolutely love these things. And yeah, they are just very delicate, intricate little lip, and just the most beautiful color of orange. They really, really brighten up in here. Our little Tolumnia tetrapedula still hanging in there. Again, these do tend to last a pretty decent while. Beautiful little blooms that just absolutely brighten up this grow space as well. They kind of just sit over here in the light and just kind of dance around in the fans. Really awesome. I cannot wait for this plant to mature on a little farther and to get to a point where this thing is going to be producing more spikes, but I am definitely happy with the two. I'm hoping maybe I can give this thing a little bit more light as well this year. Even though it is happy, I'm sure more light would equal more of these awesome, awesome little blooms. I've got big news, actually, in the Brassavola world. Over here in the corner, in the brightest spot in my grow room, this is Brassavola subulifolia. And I have 1, 2, and 3 awesome new growths. That is huge. I only had one new growth last year. It was big and it was strong and it did bloom. So I'm very excited at the potential of being able to see more growths from this plant bloom, because this put on quite a showing. I can't remember how many flowers we had. It was 4 or 5, but now we have the potential to put on lots and lots more blooms, and that is just awesome. Really, really did enjoy seeing this thing. My other Brassavola, Brassavola regina, is also, I don't know if you can see, just now starting to get back into growth. I've moved it up to an even brighter spot. As you see, we are getting a little bit of pink on these, and I have heard, I've read that that is a sign that it is happy and that it's getting enough light. My only worry with this one is that it does like to grow a little bit cooler than most other Brassavolas, and it is definitely starting to get warm in here, so I'm going to have to watch it. Now that it's getting more light, it's up higher, closer to the window, I'm really going to have to watch the temps, and I might have to move this back down to a little bit lower position just so it can stay cooler, but that might be a little tricky. I do have space issues, but like I said before, I'm going to be getting rid of some plants soon. I'll fill you guys in more on that a little bit later. Another plant we don't look at enough, but is very special to me, is this. This is the Cymbidiella Rotocolla that I got from Tarzan last year. This is a really, really neat orchid, and if I zoom in, you'll see that not only do we have the start of some new roots, but it looks like, to me, we have a couple eyes starting to push on the various growths of this plant. So we're going to get some new growths put on, bulk up this thing this year, let it get a little bit more mature. I mean, it has an absolute pot full of roots. This thing is a beast. I'm considering, since there is sphagnum moss in this pot, doing a repot here this year because it did grow rather moist last year, and I do not want any adverse effects from the sphagnum moss in the pot going bad and the pH going off and losing any of these precious roots. So I just may do it. I may upgrade and give it a 4-inch pot with a little bit less moss, and I don't know, but anyhow, I'm thinking about it. That way it can live happily longer in a pot for me, because I am so nervous. This has done fantastic in a pot. Usually plants do not do so well for me in pots, but I hit it right with this one. So I've got it right here in the window again. It likes to grow pretty bright, and right now it is extremely happy. So we'll have to follow up on this again soon. Very, very exciting news. I am super eager to grow this plant on and see it bloom in the coming years. More big news, something we haven't looked at for quite a while. My Catacetum is coming back into growth vigorously, starting to produce some new roots and do its thing. I have been watering it just a bit, to be honest. I haven't gone dry yet. The root tips have never died off, so I am going to keep this thing growing. It's doing really, really good so far. I haven't lost any roots. I haven't noticed any signs of rot. I'm growing it rather dry, but I am watering it gently every week or two. So that's that. Really cool progress there. And one last thing that we'll look at in here before we move into the tank is this. This is the first bud on my Phalaenopsis Parishi, just starting to crack. And I have 3 more to come. So 4 blooms on this thing. One of them is just about to grace us with its presence. So that is awesome. And we are gonna close this out here and get over to the tank. Another orchid just getting ready to grace us with its presence with another bloom is my Dendrobium Cuthbertsonii red. This is the 3rd bloom for me. I've still got the other 2 hanging in there, so we are just days away from having a 3rd bloom on this awesome orchid. Really neat. I haven't seen any signs of new growth yet, but the new growths that I have put on are really, really strong. I'm excited. I'm hoping that they carry on being this strong, but only time will tell, I guess. So far so good. It is happy, and it's growing really well. I've got some more progress on the Bulbophyllum front. This is Bulbophyllum odontopedulum. This used to live in the tent, and I have since mounted it on this bare piece of bark, and I've moved it here in the tank where it stays nice and humid. As you can see, it's producing new growths, new roots, and it is becoming a very happy orchid once again. I had this on a bed of moss. I lost all the roots. The rhizome broke apart into several pieces that I've strapped onto this piece to make my plant whole again, but I can say it didn't reject it. It didn't drop a bunch of leaves, and it is actually growing. The same applies here for this Bulbophyllum familio or Ceropedilum familio that I have. I did the same thing. I mounted this on a mound of moss. I lost all my roots, and I mounted it on this piece of bare bark. But if you see there, I've got not 1 but 2 new growths, and this as well is loving the humidity and being on this piece of bare bark here in the tank. I'm hoping that Long term it does well. This is again just an experiment with these two plants to see how they do bare rooted with high humidity, and so far I can say I'm very, very impressed. I do mist them every day gently, and I let them dry out, or for the most part every day, but they do get misted daily. However, they really do seem to enjoy it. Having that said, our Bulbophyllum speciosum in here is just going nuts. It's putting on at least 5 or 6 new growths right now, and it just seems to really be doing well. This is one of my next Bulbophyllums that's going to get the mount treatment, because I don't know if you can tell that or not. That moss is looking kinda nasty. Someone had asked me in the comments, how do I know when the moss goes off besides the smell, and I can honestly say it's a color thing, it's kind of a texture thing. This here is a good example of really fresh moss. That was put on there less than a month ago. You can see the color, you can kind of see the texture. It still looks more or less like what you put on there. This, however, is not. It's breaking down. You can start to see the texture of it gets a little bit funky. It's darker. You start to see more and more of the stems, and it's just kind of a feel. You guys will know with time, but that is how I know. Besides the smell, it's just kind of a visual thing. You'll see it start to break down on the mount. So I figured we'd close this video out by looking at a couple blooms in here, starting with this Lepanthes telepagana Flora. This is definitely still my favorite orchid in my collection. It is just so special, and it is always in bloom. So if you love these orchids, guys, again, I've pushed this before, but if you guys are going to try out a Lepanthes orchid, I would definitely try out this one, or Lepanthes caledictian. Another one, almost always in bloom. Beautiful plant, beautiful little blooms, and it is constantly just putting on a spectacle just like this. Really, really neat little orchid. I have my little Lepanthes guatemalensis right down here in bloom. Has 4 blooms open right now, and these are just awesome. Beautiful little plant with awesome little blooms that present themselves really nicely. One of the issues sometimes with Lepanthes is that they hide their blooms, like Mariposa or one of those that puts them on the bottom of the leaf. But whenever you find one that presents its blooms like this guy, it truly is special. Really neat little plant. And my last plant that we're going to look at and end on is my newest Lepanthes. This is Lepanthes ortega, a neat little species. I just got this from Tarzan, and it's already bounced back in bloom again. There is a lot of detail to this tiny little bloom. I did take some really good pictures I'll throw up to really wrap this video up, but I wanted to share this thing with you. It's growing a new growth already. We've got lots and lots of progress on it, and it's got another bud to come on another leaf, and another bud following closely behind this neat little bloom. So that's it for today, guys. We'll back out and let's appreciate the clouds. That's my video for today, guys. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of my channel, and I really do hope you enjoyed. I've got lots more stuff to come. I've had a very busy few weeks at work, so I haven't had as much time to do the longer videos, but I really am enjoying these shorts as well. I think it's a really neat little thing that YouTube's doing with these beta shorts. So I hope that you guys are enjoying those as well. I really do. And yeah, thanks for watching. So I'll see you guys again soon, and as always, stay safe and happy growing. See ya.